and thank you for staying on time as well. Appreciate it. Mr. Holder-Winfield.
Thank you. Good morning. It's interesting to be on this side of the table.
People are saying that on this side of the table as well.
I didn't have a chance to write out what I was going to say, but I listened to what Mr. Coleman said, and I have some thoughts that I think may be useful. I hope are useful. You started off talking about the Brown case and segregation and the effects of segregation. I think that many of us agree that that was an important case. I think one of the things that we've come to talk about in education is the value of integrating individuals in education. But I think that has also taken us away from understanding that, quite frankly, if white schools are failing, the answer wasn't to integrate those schools. The answer was to look at what was happening in those schools and figure out what a solution is that doesn't necessarily talk about integration. And so I think one of the things we need to do is take a serious look, because we know that schools have resegregated in a real way they are, to take a look at what's happening in those schools and, yes, value integration, but also figure out how do we fix those schools where they are. The Black and Puerto Rican Caucus of the State General Assembly have been working on education, and some of the points that Mr. Coleman pointed out are things we've been working on. In particular, and I would laud Representative Jason Bartlett for pushing the bill that changed the law about the dropout rate, when an individual can drop out. And that speaks to another problem we have, quite frankly. That was a fight, and it was a big fight. And we're talking about children who, I can tell you from my personal experience, this morning even, seeing the children in the neighborhood I live in, what the results of this are. Yes, the results are that they don't achieve to the point we would like everyone to achieve to. But the other results are these children sometimes are dead in the streets of Connecticut. And we have to talk about this in a very frank way, in a stark way, because I think sometimes we feel as though it's important, but I don't know that everyone, as well-meaning as they are, understand why some of us push as hard as we push. And the results in the city I live in right now are those 11 people we're talking about being murdered since the beginning of the year, the 5 that have been shot dead in the last week. That is the result. All of those, every single one of those individuals have dropped out of our schools. We have not done what we are supposed to do with those individuals. And we can talk about their parents, and we can talk about all of the things that surround those individuals. We need to work on those. And there are many of us who are working on those issues. But even on every single one of those points, all of the social interactions, all of the resources they need, we get pushback. And if we're going to talk about education, the dropout rate, we have to talk about this in a way that we look at the whole picture. With the dropout, what we see here with the achievement gap is the replication of what we know is going on in a larger society. We know who's at the top, we know who's at the bottom, and it is replicated in our schools. And in some ways, what it does is it makes many of us look at these individuals who are at the bottom and say, well, perhaps it is something about them. Even if we are well-meaning, we look at them and we say, well, perhaps it's something about them. And if you look at the people in the schools, many of them are very much separated in a socioeconomic way from the people who are bringing their children to the schools. And so those relationships, while not intentionally set up to be adversarial, are adversarial, because the parents don't know necessarily how to advocate for their children in a way that's useful to the children. And the communication between them is set up because of the gap between the person who is the parent at the bottom and the person who is the educator or administrator who is in the middle or upper echelon of society. And there are many things that we could do to work on this achievement gap. We could work on communication. That's a big part of what we do. But I just want to speak briefly about, I'm trying to stick to our time. I don't know how much time I have left. But I just want to speak briefly about what the Black and Puerto Rican Caucus is working on right now, because we have a bill that has been characterized as a bill that pits parents against teachers and parents against the schools. The bill we're working on, I think, is a bill that would help a lot, because one of the things I think the parents at the bottom need is to feel as though they have some power in the school. And quite frankly, what this bill does is it gives some of that power to the parents. But as the bill moves forward, it puts the parents at a place where they work with teachers. And so it's not pitting parents against teachers, but it's actually empowering both groups. Because what the bill does is it says we have schools that have been failing for too many years. If a school has been failing to make whatever we determine, if we change No Child Left Behind, we don't know. Whatever we determine to be the determining factor of what failure is. If a school has been failing for 3 years, we don't have time to say, well, we'll figure out later on what we're going to do about these kids, because their lives don't stop. Their lives keep going, and we just keep pushing them along. And so there's a board where the parents and the teachers are working together, learning about what's going on in the school and learning more. And after 3 years, we say, they have the option to say to the local Board of Education, enough is enough. You need to change going on. And then the local Board of Education gets to weigh in, and the State Department of Education gets to weigh in. It's a collaborative model. And I think when you give some parents the power, you see different results. And so we've talked about education bills for a long time. And we don't see parents all of the time coming up to this Capitol saying, we want what you are proposing. When we talked about this bill, this building was flooded with parents. We didn't know where to put them. And so I think that people should think again about what is going on in this building, because I think it's revolutionary in many ways. And so I'm happy to be here this morning, and I will be prepared for any questions that you should have. Thank you.